Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Miller. Every week, I chat with fascinating people from all walks of life in order to bring you knowledge, inspiration, and insight. If you enjoy the show, you can support it by subscribing, leaving a review, and sharing it with a friend. This is the Jeremy Miller Podcast. Justin Kinner, welcome to the podcast, man. I'm so excited to be chatting with you today.
Heck yeah, man. No, this has been quite the journey. Obviously, we've been through a lot together, but to just have you sitting here in my house, shooting the breeze, talking about stuff that's happened since the documentary, since all that stuff. It's just awesome having you here.
Yeah, man. We've been through a lot together. Because when did we initially meet? It was like 2020, maybe?
Yep, 2020. That summer, and which we all know how crazy that summer was. Yeah. But everything was being canceled, and I think it was met you and David. I think you guys were up running on the bridle trail. And,
yeah.
Yep, and that's kind of where it started, and then you kind of got that itch to come up and do the night crawler, and then you had this crazy idea of like, hey, what are you up to this next summer? And been a crazy time since
last few years has been wild, man. You've done a lot, and you just finished up the Bighorn 100 on Saturday. Today's Thursday, so it's been like 4 or 5 days since you finished it up. How was this one for you?
It's Bighorn it's obviously a very special race for me. That was the first race that I kind of dove into the whole ultra running scene. Did my first 30K there, my first 50K there, my first 50 miler there. Then I planted this strange seed in my head, like some people can often do. Like before I turned 30, I wanted to do a full Ironman triathlon and a 100-mile trail run. So I did that. Did my full Vineman Ironman in Santa Rosa, California, summer of 2015, and then summer of 2016, 3 months before I turned 30, I did my first Bighorn 100. Bighorn, it's just, since then I've done races all over the country, obviously. And it's just, they just do it so well. They do it right. They just treat everybody so well. And it's every bit of 100 miles of wild and scenic that it just keeps coming back every year. I can't get enough of it.
Dude, it's I haven't done the 100 yet, but the 50 I've done twice now. And it's like I don't have a lot of other knowledge of races, I guess, because I haven't done a lot of ultras, but it's such a fun race, man. Like the course is so beautiful. It's so challenging. Mm-hmm. The people are so nice. The aid stations, everything about it are so amazing. Would you say, like, out of all the hundreds and all the other races you've done, is it the best one you've done? We might be biased because we're in Wyoming.
I definitely do have some bias, but of the hundreds I have done so far, it's my favorite. Doesn't minimize the other ones I have done, but yeah, just that local hometown feel. And it's a big race still. Between all the distances, there's over 1,000 runners. So, it's still a big race, but they've just managed to keep it kind of that small town feel still. And that's hard. That's hard to do.
Yeah.
It is just, it's real special. And then obviously the people that I'm able to do it with, the crew that we always have of people that come up from Casper doing all the distances, hanging out in the park afterwards, shooting the breeze, talking about everybody's races. It's something that I look forward to every year, and it never lets me down.
Yeah. The community, the ultra running community it's the best. It's truly the best. Are you ever worried about, like, because I actually considered this the other day, because I've put out like 9 posts about running Bighorn now. And I'm like, I know it's a big thing within like the hunting and fishing community where you don't want to like give away your spots. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, am I like overdoing it? Like letting everybody in the world know about Bighorn? Like, is it going to become like too big of a race where like it loses that small town feel? Are you ever worried about that?
Not honestly, with Bighorn, because I think just the fact that it's in a national forest, it can't get too big. Mm. There are rules and regulations that they have to follow based on just the fact that a lot of that course is in a national forest. So I don't think there's not a fear in that regard, because technically they couldn't get too much
Right.
more runners than they have. And I love the fact that it is still just a first come, first serve. I know that
Yeah.
it's real difficult for those people that are doing those shorter distances, the 30K, the 50K. I mean, you have to be sitting there on your computer 6
Yep.
a.m. doing the refresh, especially get into that 30K. But it is so cool to just still have a quality race like Bighorn that is just first come, first serve. It's not a lottery. I know that it's probably getting close to a point where they could be thinking about that, but I hope that it stays kind of just the way that it is. It's very intriguing. I mean, the 100-mile race is, and actually the 50-mile race is, that they're qualifiers for other races. The 100-mile race, you can use it for UTMB, you can use it for Hard Rock, you can use it for Western. So it checks off all of those boxes, and just the races like that where you can just apply, register without having to sit through a lottery is few and far between anymore.
Yeah, because I feel like everybody is obsessed with Leadville these days for whatever reason. I mean, it's an epic race, and you've done it, so you know, but it's so hard to get into because of the lottery system.
Yeah.
I've heard somebody this weekend, they called Bighorn the Little Hard Rock.
Yeah.
I'd never heard of that. I think it was in the middle of the race. Somebody was like running by me and told me that. And I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense because this is a hard race.
Yeah. I think it was actually Jeff Browning. He actually made mention of that after his race with the Sheridan Press.
Maybe that's what it was.
With the Sheridan Press. Yeah. After his, because Sheridan Press interviewed him after his win.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah. So Jeff Browning, obviously, phenomenal athlete, phenomenal guy.
And he's like 51, right?
Yeah, I think he's 53 years old.
53
years old, and still just absolutely crushing it out there. And it was it's always super cool because I mean that's another thing. Like, he's in the ultra running community around the world. Like, he is very well known. I mean, he's Bronco Billy, and here he is at a race like Bighorn. You know, kind of one of the races where kind of it all started for him. And yeah, it's always just so cool to be able to share the trail with, you know, like truly elite, gritty folk like Bronco Billy. And yeah, I mean, he's just another guy out there. I mean, like, coming down as we're going up towards Jaws, and he's coming back. I mean, it's just like it's just such a rare thing to be able to, you know, like, hey, good job. Like, and like, he's like, he's in that same kind of pain cave, you know, obviously he's just going a little faster than you are, but, just sharing the trail with those kind of people is very, very cool.
Yeah. I think running is like one of the only places where you can literally be in the same race on the same course as like elite professional people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, I mean, you, when we were filming, I was filming, you were running at Western States. There's like Jim Walmsley out there, like all these like super famous, like high level people, and you're running the same exact race as them.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And I like how you said you guys are all hurting just as bad, but some people just go faster than others.
They're just not extending that pain cave for too long.
They're just doing it for less time.
Yes. Yep.
So how many hundreds was that? This recent one was?
So that was my 12th 100 overall. My 6th Bighorn. So it was Bighorn. Like I said, that's where it started. 2016 to 2019, I did Bighorn. Then 2020, obviously nothing happened there. 2021 was the year of the Grand Slam, and then last year and this year. So
we should tell people about the Grand Slam. That whole experience.
Heck yeah, no. So that's been that's again been a fun thing. Like, not just for me too. Like, there were folks up at Jaws when my dad and mom were up there crewing, and there were people that were looking at them that were like, "I recognize you. like who are you?" And then Dad kind of connected the dots with him, like, "Oh, that's right. You're from Chasing 400." And
oh,
I'm
that's
like,
awesome.
So that's, I mean, still to this day, I mean, still getting people like, "Oh, hey, you're that guy." And then obviously you see my brother and like, "Oh, you're that guy that wears those really short shorts," and just all that. I mean, I like that whole project. I mean, I'm sure you can attest to it as well. Like, just far surpassed any kind of, I mean, I don't think either of us really had a goal from it. It was, but just the reach that has had.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sitting above like 450,000 views right now. And it's just like, I would not have even fathomed that. I mean, I knew that it was quality work because you did it, but just the message that resonates with a lot of people that from it as just goes beyond any kind of thing that I could have ever thought it would have been.
Dude, yeah, I think the best part about all that was like, it was for me just a passion project. Like,
oh sure,
we never intended to like make money on it or have it go viral or whatever.
No,
and like you were gonna just be out there running 400-mile races, but even if I wasn't gonna be there, like didn't matter if I was there or not. So it was so cool to be there to document it, and it's interesting like the takeaways that people ended up getting out of it, like seeing the comments and stuff. Because for me, at least, like on my end, like I saw the footage so many times, like I kind of become numb to it at some point because like I see it and it's like. Even that, like the night of the premiere, I think I watched it like all 3 or 4 times that we showed it. And so I was like, I knew exactly what was coming. So it wasn't like, didn't have that like awe effect anymore. And so to hear the way that it resonated with people was so cool. Of like, it's just inspiring and like seeing your family come together and support you and like the community aspect and doing hard things and just everything involved with it was so cool to see that and have that big of an impact too.
Well, yeah, and that was the biggest thing that I implored on you, you know, like before we even started that project was this can't be just about me. It takes a village. I mean, I know there's people out there that can do these things, without pacers, that kind of stuff. And I've done that as well. But what I have found for me is that it doesn't feel near as fulfilling if you don't have those people there that have, you know, been there for you throughout everything. It's just so much more fulfilling to have those people there, and implored on you to include that side of things. And you just did an absolutely phenomenal job of doing that. And something that honestly we'll never be able to truly thank you for enough.
Yeah, dude, it was such an unforgettable experience. It was so much fun to be out there. And that was like my first experience at a 100-mile race. And we did 4 of them, and it was within like 13 weeks?
13 weeks ago. Yeah.
And it was, just to tell people, it was Old Dominion out in Virginia. What was second?
Western States.
Yep. That's the original 100-mile race, right?
Yep.
And then Leadville in Colorado, and then Wasatch in Utah.
Yeah.
4 just beasts of 100-mile marathon or 100-mile ultra marathons.
Yeah. And
you crushed them.
Yeah. No, it was went into that summer just really, I mean, so leading up to it, I mean, that was the goal was if I ever got into Western, which eventually you're going to, as long as you keep putting those qualifying races in and apply for the lottery. That was again, just another silly promise I made to myself that when I got into Western, that wouldn't be enough for me. And I needed to try to attempt the Grand Slam. And yeah, just the way that summer just grew and developed throughout, like it just completely blew my mind. Any fantasies I had of what that summer was going to look like was just completely blown out of the water.
Was that the hardest challenge you've done so far, do you think?
Putting those 4 together in one summer, yeah, that was without question the hardest thing I've done from a physical standpoint, mental standpoint, testing limits standpoint. Yeah, that was just, it was a lot. And definitely don't regret it. But I enjoy just being able to focus on, 1, maybe 2 events. I know there's people out there that have done the Grand Slam more than once in like year after year. And I'm just like, holy cow, those are just people cut from a different cloth, I guess. Cause I'm not going to say I couldn't do it, but I don't know. It was just such an experience that, I don't know. I wouldn't want to minimize it again. Like, I don't know. I feel like that was a one and done thing for me. Something that I don't feel I could replicate again.
Yeah, that was, dude, it was so impressive to just see it happen in person. And like, I thought like, towards the end you would slowly kind of fade and like it'd take longer and longer and like you'd be struggling more, but like, no, you never showed. Like that was honestly one of the hardest parts about putting that documentary together was like, you never acted like it hurt or like you never said, this is hard or this sucks or like, why am I doing this? Like never once. Yeah. And so it was, I mean, maybe out on the trail or in your head, you might've thought that, I don't know, but sure. I wasn't able to capture it at least if it did happen. And so I was like, man, how am I going to show the like magnitude of this and show how difficult this actually is? Cause You just made it look so easy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's something I've thought about, and like, it's not, yeah, it was hard. Definitely. You definitely don't want to normalize doing something like that, because it's not something that a lot of people have done,
Right.
can do. And yeah, it's just, I don't know, for me, especially that summer, I never lost a sense of why I was doing it.
Yeah.
So in those dark moments when they did come, like, I never had to reach far to find that reason, like, that reason wasn't just about me. It was about everything leading up to those races that summer. Like, for instance, it was 5 years of putting into Western States, like, it was not just that summer that was in play. It was, truly, the way I look at it, it was truly the whole kind of like upbringing of, doing hard things, growing up outside, doing things in the mountains from a very young age with my family, and being able to be there, capture that with my family. Like I said, I never had to reach far for a reason for why I was doing it. It got hard, absolutely, but I never had to think about, like, why are you doing this? Like,
Really?
it was just, it was there. It was organic. That was what I was supposed to be doing. I truly felt that.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's cool. So you like that, to put it concisely, I guess, like your reason is just like, it's what you're meant to do. It's what you're supposed to do.
I mean, I truly, I feel that way. Absolutely. There's just, it's hard to explain. But yeah, it's just a feeling that I get that when I'm doing those things, those hard things out in the mountains and those places that I love, really digging into that pain cave and just, pushing those limits. It's just something that it just makes me feel like the most alive. I can't explain it any better than that. I just feel different. It feels right. It feels like one of the things I was put on this earth to do.
Yeah, I feel like that's so rare for people to be able to like genuinely say that,
Mhm.
that whatever thing they're doing in life, that like, this is what I was meant to do.
Yeah, no, I think one of the harder things is like trying to find and replicate that feeling in other aspects of my life.
Have you ever been able to?
Close. I've been close with other things for sure. Like, with coaching, for example, that's another thing that, I enjoy doing with race directing, with doing the night crawler, helping with the skunk hollow sneaker chase and that kind of stuff. But, it's something that's close. That's a way for me to give back. And, that's something that I definitely have a passion for. And then also the work that I do, being able to help people, from a training aspect. I've always loved and had a passion for helping people. And those have gotten me close, but never quite like being in those moments, having those experiences with myself, with other people, with other like-minded people, doing those hard things, like in those awesome places. I mean, like for example, at Bighorn this year, I mean, just like, again, like, I've done that race 6 times now. And those moments, those high moments, those low moments, they've been different every single year. But like, holy cow, just to keep yourself present and in that moment at night, looking up, there wasn't a moon, millions of stars. Just, I can't tell you how many times I just stopped, like, and just looked up in the sky and just like, was just like, holy cow, how special is this to be able to be doing this right now? Like, not thinking about the future, not thinking about things that have happened, just like truly immersing yourself in that moment and just being like, holy cow, this is special. Yeah, those moments are unexplainable.
Was there like a moment where you realized that running was your passion, like this was your calling, or has it been like a slow build up over time?
It's interesting, my kind of journey towards ultra running. and just how that has developed and grown. Because growing up, I mean, running was very much, I mean, I've always enjoyed doing like cardio type things, you know, like I grew up running, grew up playing soccer, grew up cross country skiing. But running for me, like from a high school age, middle school and high school, it was used as a way for me to stay in shape for skiing and soccer. Those were my two big things. Growing up was Nordic skiing and soccer. And then I don't know exactly, honestly, what it was with ultra running. I think a big part of it was helping, crewing, pacing my brother John at Leadville in 2014 and 15. I mean, at that point I had done, you know, a couple 50Ks, some 30Ks, that kind of thing. But like, there wasn't like a thing that had just grabbed me and been like, yep, this is what you need to do.
How old were you when you did that, the first?
I think my first 50K was either 2011 or 2012. I think it might have been 2012 was my first 50K. 2011 was my first 30K at Bighorn, as I mentioned.
So you were like mid-20s?
Yep.
Because you're 37 now?
Yep, mid-20s. So, yeah, I think I truly was, and I think people who've obviously seen the documentary, they'll it's kind of just a repeat of that. Like 2014 and 15 at Leadville with my brother, you know, witnessing my brother who'd always has been that guy for me. You know, like anything we ever did growing up, like we did because of my brother. Like in the sports world, like he ran cross country, so we ran cross country. He cross country skied, so we cross country skied. He played soccer, so we played soccer. He did tracks. I mean, like literally that was kind of just how we did things, and it was always with the support of our family. And so yeah, witnessing him at 2014 and 15 at Leadville, you know, burying himself in that pain cave, witnessing from a pacer standpoint, like, holy crap, this is something that I, you know, like this is going to be a thing for me. I had no idea at the time that it was going to be like the thing that it is now, but like I knew that was kind of the door that was opening into a lot of unknowns, and that was something that a door that I felt like I needed to walk through for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah. So it's always been, you know, you've always been doing stuff with family. So that's always been a big part. Did you, before you got into trail running and all this, like, did you know what you wanted to do with your life? Like, did you have like any clear idea?
Not truly, honestly. That's always kind of been a moving target a little bit, I would say. And I think that kind of goes well with kind of the ultra running thing that I've found. Not that you don't need to have plans and that kind of stuff to do these types of things, but like I said earlier, I've always known and I always knew that helping people was going to be a thing for me. Be it teaching like I had done, or, you know, training like I'm doing now, coaching, like that has always been a passion for me, has been helping people push those limits, test those limits for themselves, just kind of reach out, seek that best version of themselves. That's always something that I've sought out for myself. And if I can be any kind of catalyst for anybody else to do that for themselves, I was going to do it. So as far as like landing on like a career and that kind of thing, like not specifically, but I knew that that was a thing that I was put on. Another thing I was put on this earth to do was to help people.
That's awesome.
And so, yeah, well,
you're definitely doing that.
That's kind of been my MO, and that's what I continue to do and I continue to love. So.
Dude, I can't tell you how big of an inspiration you have been to me. Like, I always knew I wanted to maybe do 100 miles or whatever. Like, and I'm like, maybe I should one day. I don't know. But after seeing you at the Grand Slam and like just hearing more about your story, and like it's just so inspiring that you're making me want to go out and do stuff.
Sure.
And you made me sign up for Bighorn, or you didn't make me, but you inspired me to sign up for Bighorn last year, and now I'm hooked. I'm like, I just want to come back to Wyoming every single summer
Yeah.
and do one of the distances, eventually do 100.
Yeah.
So you're definitely right on track with that idea of just inspiring people and helping people.
Well, yeah, and just the message of like I talked about earlier with the documentary, and then just people that have found me through social media, Strava, Instagram, Facebook, people that like are just reaching out like, oh, this is so inspiring, and like people that are like, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, like, and you're a big part of that. And I'm just kind of like, that's cool,
Yeah.
but like at the same time, like not expected.
Right.
I'm just kind of sharing my message, sharing my story, sharing our story, and the fact that that's resonating with people is just like, it's more than I could ever ask for.
I think that's one of the most powerful ways to lead people or inspire people, is to like just go out and do things. You not tell people to do things, and not say, hey, this is how you can get better, but to go do it and show what the results can be if you go out and do stuff.
Sure.
Rather than telling them. It's like just leading by example, basically. And that's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, and so that's one of the things that I'm always very cognizant of whenever I'm talking with people, like, oh, I've only done this. I've only done a half marathon. I've only done a 10K. I've only done a 30K. Like, no, stop saying only. I mean, like, that is a big deal. Like, yes, I've run 100-mile races. There's 200-mile races out there. Like, stop saying only. Like, I can't even tell you like the amount of people this week and like, I was just a pacer. Oh, I only did the 30K. Oh, I only did the 50K. Like, no, stop. Like, that's a big deal. Like, don't minimize the feat that you just accomplished because other people are doing bigger things, right, or something that you consider to be bigger. That minimizes that feat for you, a feat that a vast percentage of people on this earth truly would never even be willing to try.
Right.
So don't minimize that feat, comparing yourself to people who are doing things that you deem to be bigger. Because that's, like I said, that minimizes it. And that's a big deal. That's very cool that you're out there just doing those things. So stop saying just and only, comparing yourself. Like, that's, I mean, obviously, like if you can set yourself, set bigger goals for yourself, that's fine. But don't say just.
Yeah. Don't
say only. Like, it's a big deal.
Yeah, that comparison is the thief of joy. That's that cliche saying, but it's so true. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the coolest things with running is like, you can always do more, you can always run faster or whatever. But for me, so much of it is just the confidence that comes with it. So like running a first half marathon, like if that's the hardest thing you've ever done, like that's going to give you so much confidence. You take that and you can apply it to your everyday life, or take it and use it to run a further race or a further distance. I love that, the confidence aspect that comes from running.
It's huge.
What was that first 100-miler like at Bighorn? Do you remember it still?
I do. Yeah, no, I have distinct memories of that for sure. Like I have with honestly all of my 100-mile races, or truly any event that I've done like that. There's always distinct experiences that stick out from one year to the next. And yeah, Bighorn 2016, went in definitely all wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, just not really knowing what to expect.
Was it 50 the furthest you'd gone before that?
Yeah, 50. Yeah, 50-miler was the furthest I'd gone before that, and that had been a couple years. I think it might have been 2014 when I did the 50-miler at Bighorn, and then obviously some pacing stuff with John at Leadville that really planted that seed to like, yep, I'm going to do this. But yeah, Bighorn 2016. It was a historic. It was a hot year for sure. 2016 was. Pretty similar to this year with like very minimal snow. I mean, like snow in the trees, always mud. There's always mud at Bighorn. Doesn't matter. Doesn't care. I
kind of love it. I'm starting to like it more.
Yep. That kind of squishy sound that it makes under your feet is just, that's something that even this year, like doing it with John, doing it with our pacer John, and then my brother John, just that squishy feeling that it gives you, and that squishy sound that you hear in your ears, it just makes you chuckle anymore. But Bighorn 2016 was that was the year of the blister for me. So that was like the year of
Mm.
the worst blister I've ever had in a 100-mile race. And that was just happened to be my first one. It was a blister that kind of started probably about 40 miles in, started working out on it at the different aid stations, taped it, would pop it, tape it,
Ooh.
and then get to the next aid station, and the blister had just moved around the tape. And then by the end of the race, it was like basically the entire instep of my left foot. And then come to find out after the fact, like, why did this happen? Like, the freaking insole of my shoe had rolled. Which I noticed that, like, when because I was cleaning them off and, like, demudding them, and pulled out that insole and, like, put that right up next to the sole of my foot. And I was like, yep, that's why that happened. So, like, knowing now, like, what I do, like, okay, you could have just pulled that insole out and just gone, and it would have probably been a non-issue.
Dude, the feet aspect of ultra running, I learned that the hard way last year. That's got to be one of the most crucial things you got to get under control, because last year's 50-mile race for me was miserable. And thanks to you, like, I got the right shoes, I got the right socks, I got the right lube, everything this year. Zero issues with my feet.
Yeah.
Because, unfortunately I had to learn the hard way, but
I think that's kind of, it's a trial and error thing, just like, not just running, but, doing things in real life, like, it's a trial and error. You gotta, like you said, kind of find out the hard way. And, you remember how that feels, and you don't want to replicate that again. So
there's not like really a guidebook to running ultra marathons either, because they're still relatively new.
Yeah.
Like and every race is so different.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like a road marathon. Like, they're all pretty much the same. They're predictable. Every ultra, even the same ultra year to year, is so unpredictable.
Yeah.
So just being ready for anything and everything. Is that like a big emphasis you put into training for these? Is like just
being adaptable.
Yeah.
Like 100%. Yeah. No. And again, kind of just like, you have to be with everyday life. When things happen, when new challenges arise, just being able to adapt to those challenges and be able to move with those challenges. And again, with a race like Bighorn that I've done 6 times, like, you kind of, you develop an understanding of, like, okay, this is what happened this year. You're always going to know, like, those marshy sections up towards elk camp. Those are just always going to be a thing. So just being able to be like, okay, just knowing that that's coming, and that it's just something that you're going to have to deal with. Everybody's dealing with it. Not putting yourself under that umbrella and thinking that it's only affecting you, because it's not true. I think that's another thing, that trap that people can fall into, is just like, woe is me. And nope, there's a lot of other people out there dealing with the same stuff. They're just dealing with it in different ways, maybe, but you are not on an island doing an ultra race. You can be on an island if you put yourself there, but there's a lot of people out there that want to help you, that want to get you to that finish, that want to get you to whatever goal you might have. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I take away from that ultra running community, is just that misery loves company. Everybody wants everybody. I truly feel that everybody at an ultra race wants everybody to achieve that goal, to get to that finish. And that's something that's rare.
Right.
Very rare.
Yeah, in anything in life.
In anything, but especially in the athletic realm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the most obvious things that I noticed within ultra running. Like, from the first experience I had, was everybody's so encouraging, and nobody's out trying to, like, beat other people necessarily. Like, I mean, I guess that maybe some of the elites are racing more, but I think even then, hearing some of them, like, they're just trying to beat themselves. They're trying to beat a course record or beat a previous PR or something. They're not really trying to race somebody else. And even if they are racing somebody else, they still want the other person to do well and finish. So that's a cool part of it. Where did that come from? Because I've heard you talk about that a lot, about, like, I'm not the only one out here suffering. Everybody's going through, everybody's dealing with the mud and the rain or whatever. Where does that come from?
I don't know. I think just, honestly, it's just from keeping yourself present for me. Not comparing yourself to others. Like, the only person that you should compare yourself is to yourself. that's something that I guess maybe it's just something I grew up with. I knew that I would be my own worst critic. I knew that I grew up being the coach's kid. So I was always grew up being told, like, you're going to have to work the hardest. You're going to have to be that guy that's, showing up early to practice, being the last to leave, that kind of stuff. And just like, you're going to be that person that always works the hardest. And so that's something that I guess has just carried on through life and into ultra running, is just to always keep yourself present and in that moment. I'm not going to go as far as saying that I'm not a competitive person, because it wouldn't be true. But especially in ultra running for me, like I seek those experiences more. Like those experiences that I'm able to have drive me more than the results. And so, yeah, to race like Bighorn, to be out there towing the line with so many people, but especially my brother, and then catching up to him, and then him being kind of in that kind of low spot of like, oh, you and John should just leave. Like, I'm not in a good place right now. I'm like, not leaving you, brother. Like that's not something I'm going to do. There's been races where I have, just been feeling better. And, John's just like, I'm good. Go. And I've done that. And, honestly, it's not as fulfilling. Cause again, my brother, he's the guy that has, gotten me into this. So to be in those moments, sharing those experiences with him, it's very emotional in the moment. It's very much type 1 fun when I'm out there experiencing those kinds of things with him. Even though, you're both, 70 miles in, you're both hurting,
Right.
But like, that's not type 2 fun for me, because it's fun in the moment and fun in reminiscing. Like it's hard to explain. I know that many people don't have relationships with their family, with their brother, with their siblings like I do. But yeah, it's just a very special, visceral feeling that I get, being able to experience those things like that with him out there.
That's so cool. That's so powerful. And like you said, not many people get to experience that. I mean, you can maybe have it with a friend or something, but to have it with your like blood brother, that's such a cool thing to be able to do and experience. And I don't blame you for not, for sticking with them and not want to like go ahead. Cause I could see that for sure. Like it's not, you might finish faster or something, but you're like,
what's
great.
What's that? Yeah.
It's probably, like you said, it's just more fulfilling. And it's seeing you guys finish at Leadville together this in 2021. That was so cool to see. And then I didn't get to see you guys finish this year, but I saw you guys come in together at the 50-mile mark at Jaws. And like it almost doesn't feel right if you guys aren't together now.
Yeah, no, truly. So like any race we've done, we've done Bighorn together now. So that was his fourth finish at Bighorn this year. And so, yeah, there's been 2 years that we've finished it together, and then 2 years that we haven't finished it together of his 4. And yeah, kind of like I was just talking about a couple minutes ago, like, honestly, like looking back on those experiences, they're all great experiences, but to be able to be out there with him, starting that race together, finishing that race together, like all the little things that can happen in between the start and the finish, like there's just a lot of unknowns out there. And just to be able to start at one point, and then 100 miles later, like you're finishing at the same time with that person who was like the catalyst who got you into this. Like, yeah, it's just unreal to be able to do that.
That's amazing, dude. I kind of interrupted you a little bit ago about the first 100 miler. I was the blister kind of the main, the most memorable part of that.
That's the experience that sticks out with Bighorn in 2016 for sure. Beyond the fact that it was my first 100-mile race, first 100-mile experience racing with Adam, good friend of mine to this day. Maggie, her first 100-mile race, friendships that, were a thing then and definitely have not gone away, have grown even stronger, even deeper connections with. So yeah, those are things that always stick out. But yeah, the blister was kind of like the physical side of things that I remember, but like just, from that mental side of things and from that whole like doors opening side of things, like, yeah, just those experiences with those people that I continue to have, with the same people. Yeah, it's unreal.
When you finished that first one, did it just make you realize like, wow, I can run 100 miles. Like, what else can I do?
Yeah, there was definitely a little bit of that. I've never had a race that I've finished to this day, where I'm like, I'm never doing that again. That was obviously the case in 2016. Like I finished that race and I knew instantly, I'm going to be back. I'm coming back next year. I'm going to do this again. Hopefully not have a blister again, but I'm going to come back. Like that's never been a question for me. In any of the races I've done, like I've never had, you do get that from people like, oh, I never want to do that. Like I have just, I mean, I guess I don't have that short-term memory. I just like,
I feel like it's pretty rare though.
Yeah.
To hear somebody say that.
Yeah.
It happens, but there's something about it. You finish it and you're like, wow, I didn't die. I'm okay. I can still walk around and move. I probably could have kept going if I had to.
Yep.
And I think if you have any sort of like, even the like 1 ounce of like drive in you to keep doing things, like you want to go out and do it again and experience that whole thing.
Yeah. The 100-mile distance for me, for whatever reason, is just, that's my jam. I just, not that the shorter distances aren't fun. They're just, for me, they're not as fulfilling. It does kind of make me wonder, like, okay, you kind of have this 100-mile thing figured out. Like, what do you want to do next? Just being that person who's always, seeking those, pushing limits and stuff for myself. But I still just haven't gotten to a point yet where I'm like, okay, I need to go try one of these 200-mile races. Maybe it'll happen someday. I'm not saying it won't for sure. But yeah, at the moment, it's just those 100-mile races are just, they're my thing.
That's 100 miles is so far. And you've done it 12 times.
Yeah.
It's impressive, man.
Yeah.
So after, was it High Lonesome last year? Is that where this like whole health thing kind of started happening?
So it was probably going on. It was probably going on then, unbeknownst to me at the time. But yeah, so kind of backtrack, rewind a little bit. So my experience at Bighorn last year was very. So I guess the best way I can describe it is up until last summer, I was a very low maintenance runner, like for myself, for my crew. Like it was very kind of like you attested to, like you make it look easy. Like, well, it's not easy, but it'd always just been kind of low maintenance. It was, crew knew what I needed at the aid stations. They'd have it ready, hugs all around, and I'd go back out. Last year at Bighorn, had something going on. We're still not entirely sure what it was. But yeah, the first 40 miles of Bighorn last year were a grind. I was having issues after Dry Fork of not being able to, so 14 miles into the race, started developing an issue of not being able to pee, but needing to, and kind of just adapting, trying to figure out what was going on there. Like, is it too much electrolytes? Is it too little? Like, kind of like going through this roller coaster of like, okay, let's take a little bit more salt. Let's do a little bit more electrolytes. And then like, okay, still having the urge to pee, not being able to. So I would stop taking the extra electrolytes, and then I would cramp. Like, and that was just kind of the roller coaster that would go on, from, yeah, like I said, like 15 miles until Spring Marsh. So, roughly 40 miles in. So there was a 6 to 8 hour stretch in there where I was not peeing and needing to, like would stop to pee and try. Nothing would happen. I would just have this like shooting sensation of like, holy crap, this isn't good. Couldn't run. Like anytime I would run, just like the jostling of running was just painful. And, so I was like, okay, I'm going to walk. And at that time I was like, okay, I'm going to just walk to Jaws and pull out. Like, cause that was truly where I was at. Cause I was just in that point where like, for me, I've always reached those moments in a race where like, okay, yeah, this is painful, but it's not getting worse. And you kind of just flick this switch. I flip this switch and like, okay, I can handle this. But that was a case at Bighorn last year where that was not the case. Like things were actively getting worse. You know, like the longer that I was out there walking along, pushing myself, not being able to pee, things were getting worse. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna pull out. And then got to Spring Marsh, like I said. They sat me down, checked my vitals, all that. Everything from a vital standpoint was okay. But they were obviously concerned that I hadn't peed in over 7 hours at that point. So they sat me down in a chair, sat me down in their little medical tent there, and gave me like the saltiest, like half of a baked potato I've ever could ever imagine trying to stomach again. Little cup of Coke, two little cups of Coke, and then a really salty cup of ramen noodles. And they're like, okay, we're going to have you just sit here for half an hour. I'm like, okay. Like, it's not like at that point, like it's not going to hurt. Cause like I'm already not in a good place physically. And so yeah, those 30 minutes passed and they're like, all right, you can go. And I kind of just told them, like, they're like, we've radioed your bib in to elk camp. So they kind of know to be looking for you. And kind of just told them my plan. I'm like, I know my family is at the turnaround. Like I can walk to the turnaround. I'll be fine. And that's more than likely where I'm going to pull out. And that was my plan. So yep, left Spring Marsh and, it was probably about a mile and a half, maybe 20 minutes later after leaving Spring Marsh, kind of had that same feeling of needing to pee, but it was like, oh wait, this is different. Like barely got my shorts down and was like, oh my Lord, like the floodgates open and I was peeing and it stung like hell, but it was finally releasing. And I don't know, I don't know if it was just kind of like divine intervention or what, but literally like minutes after that happened, walking along the trail and I find this horseshoe sitting on the ground and I'm like, that's my lucky horseshoe. That was what I triggered in my own head. I'm like, that's my lucky horseshoe. I picked it up, hung it on this tree, started running, and it was good again. Like running wasn't painful anymore. And then got to elk camp, told them what had happened, got to the turnaround, told them what had happened. My buddy Adam was there waiting to pace me. They waiting much longer than I had anticipated getting there, just because of the forced walking that I had to do earlier on. But I was ready. It was game on. It was and then those last 60 miles of that race were kind of the way that they should have been, like how I kind of always been low maintenance. Peeing was happening. It was painful, but it was happening. So I guess that was Bighorn experience last year.
Jeez.
And
I saw you at the 50-mile mark.
Yeah.
I would have never guessed any of that was going on.
Yeah.
We probably just had like a regular conversation.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm doing good. Yeah. Everything's good.
I was at that point. Yeah. Yeah. If you would have seen me around mile 38, things would have been much more dire.
Did you keep the horseshoe? Did you end up grabbing it?
No, I left it out there. I looked for it again this year. It wasn't there, but No, it was. I didn't want that to just be my lucky horseshoe.
Yeah.
But no, it was, like I said, like, I don't know if it was divine intervention or something, but like, it was something that I was meant to find in that moment, and just kind of gave you this feeling of, okay, things are gonna be okay.
Damn.
So yeah, then
And you finished the race, everything.
finished the race, was able to negative split the course, obviously, because which is something that I've always known was a thing you could do at Bighorn, just the way that it's the elevation profile and it's kind of a net downhill that last 52. Always had been a thing. Like, obviously I wouldn't recommend doing it the way I did, but yeah, it was a fun last 60 miles of being able to just run like I wanted to. So then, yeah, fast forward to August of last year, attempted the Lean Horse 100 down in South Dakota. And again, it was one of those races that I kind of just felt this thing like, I need to go try this. We had lost my grandfather, and he'd always loved the Black Hills. It was always a thing that we enjoyed talking about, reminiscing about all the memories from growing up with, my dad and my uncles growing up, and it was Black Hills were always a special place for him. So that was something that I felt like I needed to do. There was something tugging me towards it. It wasn't a race like I would typically sign up for. It's not a mountain ultra. It's all on the Mickelson Trail. But there was something pulling me to go do it again, or to go do it. And that ended up being my first DNF at an ultra, because I had those, because I made a promise to myself before that race that if I was having those issues again, I hadn't had those issues throughout the summer of pacing Adam and Phil and Nathan. So I thought everything was okay, but I had made myself a promise that if those things happen again, you're stopping. You're not gonna continue going.
That's a hard thing to tell yourself.
Yep.
You never DNF'd up until that point.
Up until that point, I'd never DNF'd. And but yeah, I started having those same kind of feelings. They kind of started kicking up around probably like the 40-ish mile mark again, and being able to, needing to pee but not being able to. And I was like, something's not right. So I got myself to the 100K mark, and I was just like, Mom, Dad, I got to be done. Like, I had made myself a promise that I wasn't going to do this. And it honestly wasn't as hard at the time to take in that pill of my first DNF at an ultra. Like, it's just, it wasn't hard. I knew it was the right thing to do.
Because you probably knew, like, you could have kept going. You'd already done it at Bighorn.
Yep.
Like, but it was the smart choice to make.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, like I said, in the moment, it was not a hard decision. And it was a result of a kept promise with myself. And I think that was honestly, for me, one of the things that was pulling me towards doing that. Everything happens for a reason. I needed to find out in that way.
Yeah.
I truly believe that. So yeah, after that was when sisters, they're both healthcare professionals. They were like, all right, we need to get you in for some blood tests, some urine tests, that kind of stuff. And I was like, yep, we do. So that was where that kind of started. So yeah, I went in for blood tests, and the phantom issue became the low platelet disorder. ITP was what I ended up being diagnosed with in September. So it's an immune thrombocytopenia. It's just a blood disorder, autoimmune, that affects your platelets. So your body's ability to clot blood. So when they're extremely low, your body doesn't clot, your blood doesn't clot, and you become a bleeding risk.
Wow.
So being able to do things in the mountains, like running a 100-mile race, like, yeah, you probably shouldn't do that when your platelets. So normal range for platelets is between 150,000 and 450,000 platelets per microliter of blood, and I was down in the low teens.
Oh my gosh.
I was down in the low teens, which
like 10% of what it should have been.
Mm-hmm. And so obviously the risk, the threat of doing things, being a bleeding disorder, like even just like you get a bloody nose in the middle of nowhere, like doing some of the things that I like to do on my own, like okay, you die because of a bloody nose because your body can't stop bleeding.
That's scary.
So yeah, that was it was a tough thing.
How does that correlate? Do you know how it correlates with like the peeing and is it kidneys or like what is it?
So our best guess, and from talking with a urologist at the time after the fact, like obviously the best thing to do after Bighorn would have been to go to your urologist, but like obviously can't go back and do things now. But
well, yeah, I mean, you ran 100 miles. You're like,
yeah,
it's
it's
a
like
weird little hiccup, but we're fine.
Yeah, we're fine. Yeah, but so speaking with urologists after the fact and with hematologists up at UC Health in Denver, their best guess is what could have happened last summer at Bighorn at Lean Horse was that I had a kidney stone or kidney stones, and that maybe that release at Bighorn when I finally was able to pee, because like just in description of like how that felt and how that went. Just talking with the urologist, the hematologist are like, you might have passed a kidney stone in the middle of your race. I'm like, wow, I would believe that, as painful as it was.
Gosh.
So, yeah.
Does that explain the blood thing though?
No, not at all.
That's so crazy.
Not at all. So again, it's an autoimmune disorder. The cause of it is not known. It's been around for a while. But yeah, the cause of it is still not known. It's just an autoimmune response that my body is presenting. That it attacks platelets,
Wow.
which our bodies are creating literally millions of platelets every minute. There's just obviously something in people that are dealing with ITP where they're consuming about that much as well. So yeah, the time since the diagnosis was very challenging. Just like trying to figure out like, okay, is there a specific number that I should try to get to? And like at the time, it wasn't like, okay, I need to get back to this number so I can start running again. It was just like full stop, which was very hard. Being somebody who's always been that active person, like. I'd taken breaks from running, but it was self-imposed. It was because I knew I needed that time away from it. But it was the first time in my life where I was told, stop doing this, you could die. Like you could I mean, like that sounds dramatic, but like literally, like I said, like when your platelets are that low and you're out in the middle of nowhere, like even just like a turned ankle where you bleed internally, like your body doesn't stop bleeding. Little bloody nose. Body doesn't stop bleeding when your platelets are that low. So yeah, to be told like, stop doing this because you could die. Like, like leading up to that point, like I felt like I was a person who like kind of knew like I needed the running. It was something like I felt like I would die without it.
Yeah.
But like to be told like, you need to stop doing this was a very tough pill to swallow.
That's hard.
Because I've always been somebody who is, like I feel like has been in control of my body. Yeah. And, like I know when my body or how my body feels when it's operating at its highest level. And to just be like, like this was not, like from a like time standpoint, like this was not far removed from, doing things like the Grand Slam. Like I'm like, I felt like I was at like the pinnacle of like where I should be.
Yeah. And
to then just be told like, you have to stop this now. It was hard.
And doing things for years and years. Yeah. I mean, over 10 years of it, or close to 10 years of the running side, at least, like being consistent with all that stuff. Like you develop such an intuition for your body, I feel like. Mm-hmm. And like, when something's a little bit off or it's not quite right. But did you feel like anything was off?
See, and that is one of the weird things with ITP. There are sometimes people that present symptoms of there's like a rash you can get. Your gums can bleed from even just brushing your teeth. Wow. Easy bloody noses. Fatigue is the biggest thing that people notice. And that is something that I was very aware at the time and still am. Like, I'd probably become my own worst enemy in that regard, because fatigue was always something that I was just something that I could, no, you're tired because you're doing this.
Right.
You're tired because you're doing this. Like, that's normal. Fatigue is a thing. Ignore it. You're fine. But then in that time frame when I was being told to stop, not do those things, and was not doing those things, and was still feeling that fatigue, that was when I was like, huh, okay, this is a thing.
Wow.
So that has been the biggest thing that I've noticed, kind of growing with ITP, has been that fatigue side of things, that recovery side of things is just a little bit delayed. But it's something that I'm learning to live with, and kind of just have kind of made that switch within myself. Like, there was a time in there where I saw ITP as a barrier and something that was just like something that I needed to fight, something that I needed to battle. But then I flipped the switch of, nope, it's just a part of me. It's something that I'm going to have to deal with for who knows how long. Could be something that I deal with for the rest of my life. Could be something that randomly goes away. I mean, they really don't know. It's a disease that's been around long enough, but they still, there's just so much they don't know about it. As far as how long it's going to last, if it's going to be the rest of your life, what kind of treatments you're going to need, what kind of treatments your body are going to respond to best. And, once I flip that switch of being able to just recognize ITP as being something that's a part of me, and that I'm a strong person, it doesn't diminish me. When I was able to make that switch from a mental side, was when I was okay with kind of just relearning, teaching myself to do hard things again.
Yeah.
Gosh. And that came with some trial and error, for sure. Like we talked about a little bit earlier. But yeah, just kind of relearning, reteaching myself to be okay with doing those hard things again, after having some conversations with some specialists that were like, yeah, it's dangerous, but it's okay. Like,
so
we understand that this is something for you that you need, and something that, everybody knows the benefits of physical exercise and the good things that come from that, and how those things far outweigh the risk of being a bleeding risk. So that, getting that knowledge from that specialist at UC Health was really good. It came at the right time, as I was, again, like I said, reteaching myself, relearning, just letting myself do hard things again.
Yeah. So so there's still no correlation from the peeing thing with the blood thing. So have you always had ITP? And do you feel any different than you did like 5 years ago versus now? Or do you think that maybe it is a recent thing that happened? Or
so that's another thing. Like, I'm not somebody who avoids doctors, but like, I've had no reason to go into a doctor's office, because I've been a healthy person. Mm-hmm. So as far as like how long I've had ITP, we have no idea, really. Maybe it's been for a long time, and we just noticed because of,
you went in for something else.
Went in thinking that it was an issue with my urinary system, and then, oh nope, it's not that, it's this.
Interesting.
And again, I truly do believe that everything happens for a reason. I needed that to happen in order for me to find out, like, okay, this is the thing that you need to be focused on, that you need to be adapting to, figuring out, so that you can, go back to doing those things that move you, that, like I said earlier, that, make me feel the most alive, that make me feel just like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
How long did you spend not running or exercising?
It was about 2 months.
How was that?
I mean, I'm not going to go as far as say that it was like clinical depression, but it was, I was in a very, very low place for sure. Because again, just being somebody who's always done those things from a very young age, it was, and then to just full stop. It was hard. I'm not going to say it was easy because it wasn't.
Have you seen this study that just came out like a couple months ago? That said that physical exercise is 1.5 times more effective than medication and therapy.
I would believe it. I haven't seen that, but I would 100%
It's incredible.
agree.
Yeah, they tested like strength training, yoga, aerobic activities, all these different things, like even like breath work, and every form of physical exercise that they tested had some sort of reduction of symptoms of depression and anxiety.
Sure.
And it was, I think all of them also were 1.5 times more effective than like SSRIs, so like antidepressant meds and therapy. I can't tell you how many times like I felt like shit and I go out and I go for a run or go to the lift or something, and something flips in your brain and you feel so good. So I couldn't imagine 2 months, and not because you can't, like you're not physically able to, it's because somebody else told you that you can't.
Yeah. And so that was a tough, like I said, very tough, pill to swallow. But yeah, just the weekly going in for blood draws weekly, and I'm still doing it since September.
Every week?
Every week. Yep.
So last 6 months.
Yep. Every week getting poked in the arms to get the blood draw, see where my numbers are at.
Has it changed? Did it change at all from when you were not running for those 2 months until now? Like,
so I'm glad you asked that, because I was going to get there. So there's not a coincidence to me that when my numbers have been the lowest, even on treatment, was in that period of time when I wasn't doing anything.
Really?
Yep.
That was the lowest numbers.
Those were the lowest numbers, even with treatment. I was, well, I guess not the lowest numbers, but darn close, like down in the 20s still, even on, at the time, it was a corticosteroid treatment protocol. So yeah, not a coincidence to me that in those couple months where I was extremely inactive to non-existent active on treatments, and my platelets were the lowest.
That's incredible.
There's not a coincidence there to me.
Not at all. What do your doctors say about that?
So I'm not gonna throw them under the bus, but just like being in Casper, we're definitely not a rural place, but there's not competition for hematologists in Casper. It's an oncology cancer center, treatment center here in Casper, and that was my option here locally. And you kind of just got this feeling, like you get from a lot of people get from a lot of doctors. Oh, you shouldn't run. You shouldn't do this. That's bad for your knees. The typical things that so many runners all over the world have heard, like, oh, that's bad for your body. That was totally the vibe I was getting from him. So for him to say, like, you need to stop doing this, it was no skin off his back, because he didn't understand.
Right.
And he wasn't honestly taking the time to understand the unique patient that he had sitting in front of him.
He didn't know he had Justin Kinner, at the time 11-time 100-mile runner.
Yeah.
That's a very different human than somebody off the streets.
Well, and just, like even trying to have those conversations with him of, like I mentioned, like I am somebody who knows what my body feels like when it's performing optimally. And I know that this isn't it. And for him to just say, well, that's just kind of your reality right now. It's like,
oh my gosh,
dude, you don't get it. Like, I need this. Like,
jeez.
I need this. And that was, again, something that, looking back now, like, I'm grateful that it happened, because I had always kind of knew that the feelings that I get from being able to do those types of things, like, I always knew that was something that I felt I needed. But when it was taken away from me, to be able to have that feeling and know like, okay, this is a thing, like I truly do need this in my life. Like I said, looking back now, I'm grateful that it happened. Not something I would say like I'm glad it happened, but it happened the way that it was supposed to.
Dude, I saw this thing on Instagram the other day. It was like heroes. What was it? It was like heroes come from pain and villains come from pain, and it's like it's just a matter of the choices you make when that pain enters your life or when something traumatic enters your life. And it's like you could have easily taken that doctor's recommendation and this diagnosis and been like, oh, I guess I'm not running anymore. But instead, you're like, and you could have let it totally ruin your life. Like you could have become depressed and all this stuff. Like just let it totally eaten you up. But instead, looking at it on the flip side of like, oh, this is like a blessing in disguise of like, I needed this to just prove to me that how much I need running and how much you need movement and how much I love this stuff. And just using that like pain or that negativity and looking at it from a perspective, okay, how can I learn from it?
Yep. Yeah. And it took me longer than I would have wanted for me to get to that place. But I recognize that there's a purpose for that. There's a reason to that as well. It took as long as it needed to for that switch to flip. But yeah, like I said, looking back now, everything happens the way that it was supposed to.
Yeah.
And it's something to this day now, like still living with ITP, that I'm not worried about my numbers anymore. I'm just worried about how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Because that was something that, for months on end where it was just like blood draw, check the numbers. Like, and I was just so laser focused on getting my numbers to a certain like standard because of that's what I was being told. Like, this is what we're trying to get to. That's what I was being told by my specialist. And, when I was able to just like let it go, don't worry about the numbers, base your life on how you're feeling. Again, that was just a big aha moment for me to just gauge my life as I always had based on how I was feeling.
Did you have any worries about any of that going into Bighorn for this year?
I did. So I had truly no like performance goals going into Bighorn this year, which is hard for me to say. It would be my first big event since the diagnosis with ITP. So I truly just went into Bighorn this year with the goal of staying in control of my body. Something that I never had previously had to set as a goal because I felt like I was always in control of that. But it was just a mindset that I developed, grew throughout my training, learning to teaching myself, learning to do those hard things again, that like everything I was doing had a purpose, and every strength workout, like every little hiking session, like everything like rooted in that idea behind what I was doing was stay in control of your body. So that was the goal going into Bighorn. And yeah, that was to be present, stay in control of my body. Just that was it for Bighorn this year. And to be able to do that, honestly, I was peeing more than I would have liked to have peed, but knowing where I was last year, that's a far better end of the spectrum to be at than where I was last year. And it felt right again. It felt like where I was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And just the fact that I was able to do it with my brother was just the icing on the cake. So that was the goal going into Bighorn, stay in control of my body. Again, not something that I ever would have set for a goal before, because that was something that kind of just happened.
Didn't you ran like close to a PR, right?
Yeah, I did this year. Yeah. So last year was technically my PR at Bighorn.
Last year was.
Even
with all that shit.
Even with all that. Yeah. Even with all of it, even with all that first 40 miles of a lot of forced walking. So last year was a 25:07 at Bighorn. And then this year, we got ourselves, so I caught up to John at Spring Marsh, going out this year. So 40 miles in, and, was sure to find the guy. It was the same medical guy that they had last year at Spring Marsh. I told the same guy last year, told him this year, I'm like, you freaking saved my race last year.
Did he remember you?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
he did. Yep. And that's another great thing about Bighorn. Like those crews, those volunteers that are out there in those aid stations, like they come back year after year because they just can't get enough of it.
That's awesome.
But yeah, found that guy, pointed him out, like, dude, you saved my race. I don't need you this year, but you saved my race.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's where I caught up to John, was just before Spring Marsh. And then, we got to the turnaround, definitely with a reasonable buffer to be able to go sub 24. But at that point, like, my goals didn't change. Like, I didn't shift from like, okay, I'm in control of my body, let's go do this. Like, no, like I was in that flow state where I didn't want to tempt fate. I was in that flow state of just like in control of my body and in that moment with my brother. And that was something that I didn't want to push. So yeah, we got to the turnaround, came back. I think we left Footbridge a little bit before 1:00 in the morning. So, I mean, like the 24-hour thing was getting closer to not being a thing, but at the same time wasn't a concern for me. It was more of a concern for John, like my brother, because that was, again, his hardest section for Bighorn. The 4 years he's done it has always kind of been that top of the wall coming out of Footbridge to cow camp. So like 69 to like 76-ish miles has always been his kind of nemesis at Bighorn. And it continued again this year, because that was the section where, again, our pacer John was with us and he was like, you guys are moving better, you need to go. And I was just like, not doing it. I'm not ruining this.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Damn, what was your final time?
So final time this year for us was 25 hours and 17 minutes.
Dang. So just off a PR, man.
Just off a PR for me, but big, like almost like 2-hour PR for John, which that became the thing. Like, okay, the 24 hours isn't probably going to happen, but we're going to get you a big 24-hour PR or a big Bighorn PR. I'm
sure, like, just being able to finish the race, feeling good, as good as you feel finishing a 100-mile race, that had to be so gratifying, right? Oh my gosh. Like I can rarely describe the feeling that I get crossing the finish of any 100-mile race, but this year was something even had just a little bit more punch to it, because just the way that it happened, being able to experience that with my brother, and kind of just back to being that kind of low maintenance, kind of going with the flow guy that I'd always been on those types of events. It was a flood of emotions for sure. Just the way that it happened. It was pretty indescribable. I mean, 6 months ago, you were told by a doctor that you should stop running totally. Yeah. Like, did you think back in September that, did it ever cross your mind of like, wow, I might never be able to run another 100-mile race? It did. Yeah, no, it did. And I think that was where I, again, felt that, that depression kind of sit in, just, it was, again, it was something that, running had always given me something that I knew I needed. I didn't know to what effect, until it was
literally taken away from me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did think about that. Throughout the race, like keeping yourself present doesn't mean you can't think about the past. It just means, like truly embracing that moment for what it is. So yeah, I did think about that a lot throughout Bighorn, was just like the gratitude of being able to do the things with my body that I know I am supposed to do with my body again.
Yeah.
It was a very hard feeling to explain.
Yeah.
For especially the people who've never really kind of been in that place before.
It's a very unique place to be in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let alone not just running 100 miles, but like all this shit over the last 6 months.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot, and it wasn't something that just I have gone through. It's something that same crew that I have that's out there pacing, out there crewing for me at Bighorn, crewing for us at Bighorn. They're the same folks that were right there, sitting through doctor's appointments with me and going to Denver with me for second opinions, and they're the same people. And again, that's never something that's been lost on me, but like I've always been blessed with people in my life who aren't just in the stands. They're literally in that arena with you, with me, through thick and thin. Like understanding that, because they went through that too at the same time that I did. Like, ooh, maybe he's never going to do this again. And that was hard for them too, because it's something that they truly enjoy for themselves as well. So yeah, it's not anything, again, that was just me. They were and continue to be, like the rock of my life, that they're just always there.
That's awesome. Dude, your family's the best.
Yeah.
Like seeing you guys together, it's I don't know, it just makes so much sense. Like when I see you guys together, like this last weekend, I saw your parents up there waiting for you at Jaws, and I'm like, yeah, it's just like, I don't know, puts a smile on my face to see you guys all together. And you guys, like you said, you guys do everything as a team, and when one person's affected by something or one person wins, whatever, you guys all are affected, you guys all win. It's a whole team effort. It's so cool. It's so rare, I feel like, nowadays, to have a family like that, as tight knit as you guys are. So it's so cool to see that.
Yeah, no, very blessed, to put it lightly, just with, I mean, that presence that's just always there. Never questioning, like, I mean, like there obviously was some concern this year when I, like, cause even in the midst of all this, like weekly appointments, like the Bighorn opened up in October, the registration for it. And, I didn't sign up for it in October, but, I signed up for it in January, and, still very much a like tipping point of like, what are you doing? What did you just do? And so, yeah, telling them like pretty much instantly after signing up, and kind of just that look they give you, that, like there's always been a little bit of concern there, but this year there was even a little bit more like, you sure that's a good idea? I'm like, yeah, I am. Like,
do you feel like, I mean, I'm sure throughout your training, as you tested longer runs and tested more of this stuff, like, I'm sure that built up some confidence for you and for them too, right? Of like, oh, I think we I mean, you don't know till you go and do the 100 miles, but.
Yeah. So I did, I tweaked my training definitely a bit this year, and, left me feeling a lot better leading up to Bighorn, than I've felt, that I can remember. Didn't do as many long back-to-back runs on weekends. So my training before this year was typically consisted of 5 days of running, which added up to, again, really big weekend runs on back-to-back long runs on the weekend. And this year I kind of just tweaked some things, started running 6 days a week instead of 7, just kind of spreading out that kind of distance over 6 days instead of 5. And And what I found that did for me was, I still put together some pretty big runs on the weekend. They just weren't as big. And what I found from that was, I wasn't feeling as tapped out. Like come Monday morning, which was usually my Mondays were usually my rest day. And I wasn't feeling as tapped out from that on Monday. I would still do like a little bit of strength work and that kind of stuff on Mondays, but I didn't do any cardio, and I just wasn't feeling as tapped out as I typically had when I was doing those monster back-to-back runs on the weekends. So I think that played a part in how I felt physically at Bighorn this year, just not feeling as tapped out in the training. Was a good recipe for me this year at Bighorn. So yeah, I think I might have found something else, like 1,200 mile races deep, and I tweaked, I changed, I adapted because I needed to. I think I might have found something that works now. Who knows if it'll continue working, but yeah.
How much strength training do you do on a weekly basis during a 100-mile prep?
Yep. So like I said, Mondays were my off days from any kind of cardio, no biking, I'd walk the dog or something, but so Mondays turned into a pretty big strength day. Wednesdays usually, and then Fridays. So usually 3 times a week I was doing dedicated strength work either before or after a run. Honestly, a lot of stuff after a run, which I think you've found the benefits of that. Yeah. Just while your body's kind of already in that fatigue state, and then forcing it to do a little bit more. Nothing crazy. Not like I didn't spend an hour in the gym after a run or anything, but like, yeah, in a fatigue state, I would go and force myself to do a lot of single leg balance work, that kind of stuff, resistance band stuff, stuff that I've always done, but kind of just put it more into hyperdrive this year, knowing that, okay, you've been told you're a bleeding risk. Like, okay, so you're going to minimize those risks of, like falling, like that kind of stuff by doing this, by putting it into hyperdrive, by doing it more. And that obviously played a role as well. I've always known the benefits of strength and adding that on to cardio. I've always known that that's a thing, but this year was just more of a focus. And obviously it helped.
Yeah. Did you feel like it made a pretty big difference? Like compared to, like, would you say that this is the most you've strength trained before a race?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Without question, the most dedicated strength work I've put into a training cycle for a 100-mile race, without question.
Nice. And you felt like that made a pretty big impact?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think we were talking about it on our Tuesday night trail run last week, but I was like, when I found out that running is a single leg activity, like my whole life changed, because it's obvious now, but it's like, you're never on 2 legs. So why would you lift and strength train on 2 legs? Like doing barbell squats or like 2-leg leg press, stuff like that. Like doing stuff balancing on 1 leg was a total game changer for me. So you do a lot of like band work. Do you do like dumbbell stuff, or what's like a typical session look like?
Yeah. So tons of band work. Lots of single leg, like deadlifts with kettlebells, that kind of stuff. Lots of stuff on stability discs. So we've got these little slant boards, stability discs.
I gotta get some of those.
Yeah, they're awesome. So it's actually one of the programs that I've been following, but definitely was following a lot more religiously this year. Was there's actually a training regimen in it. It's his book, Eric Orton. His what is it? The Cool Impossible. He's got a little workout program in there for strong feet. And so that was something that I integrated a lot more into my training program this year. Just again, like, okay, you're a fall risk. We're not gonna just be like, oh, you're a fall risk. Like, I'm going to lean into that and not become as much of a fall risk by putting in that work. So yeah, lots of stability discs stuff, lots of single leg balance stuff, medicine ball, kettlebell, yeah, all that
Nice.
good stuff.
Dude, I love strength training. I think it makes me feel so good after I do
Yep.
it too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because it's such a neurological thing.
Sure.
And it, I don't know. I love getting a good lift in after a run.
Yep. Before run, after run. Yeah, no, it makes it either prepares or just makes you feel like, okay, I'm ready to go to work.
Yeah.
I'm ready to battle.
What do you do for recovery?
So recovery, again, something I kind of had to tweak a little bit this year. Just knowing what I know now and how my body just kind of has a delayed response to recovery anymore. So my folks, they've got Garden Creek in their backyard, which is great. So lots of ice baths.
The natural ice bath.
Natural ice bath right there. And especially after the winter we had, like, it was
that video of you laying,
yeah.
You like submerged yourself into this giant snowbank.
Yep. That was after
You're just chilling.
after one of our monster snowstorms we had in April. Yep. But yeah, doing more of that type of stuff. Lots of protein stuff, protein drinks, Epsom salt baths. Honestly, just relaxing, a lot more just giving myself horizontal time.
Yeah.
I'm somebody who's very active, which active recovery is good too. But this year I just took a lot more dedicated approach to just giving myself more horizontal time, horizontal, putting the legs up, stuff that's simple. But for somebody who's active, not simple,
Yeah.
but something that I made myself do.
What about sleep?
Because I needed it. So sleep, definitely got more sleep. I've always been kind of a hoot owl person. Like, for whatever reason, like, my brain just won't shut off. But I was just a lot better this year leading up to Bighorn with, like, not keeping the phone in my room, that kind of stuff, like not having all those pixels in front of my eyeballs right before going to bed. Keeping that separate from my sleep space was, I think, big. Physically just reading a book. I've always enjoyed reading, and just like actual books, like turning the page, that kind of stuff.
I have a Kindle and it's not the same.
No, it's not.
It's not the same.
No.
I got to go back to real books.
So again, not anything that's like earth-shattering stuff. Just stuff that I kind of had put on the back burner and wasn't doing. Yeah.
A lot of times it's the basic, boring stuff that makes the biggest difference.
Totally.
Just staying consistent with it.
Yep. No, that consistency is key with anything. Once you build that into your routine, it just becomes consistent, becomes something that, like, just feels right.
Right. Outside of crushing ultramarathons, what else does Justin do with his time?
Outside doing stuff all the time. Be it camping, fishing, hunting, hiking, just like up on my feet. For sure. Enjoy coaching, definitely.
What do you coach?
So I'm a cross country ski coach for the high school, one of the high schools here in town.
Do you do any ultramarathon coaching?
I do a little bit. And that's something that's honestly kind of grown a little bit. The last couple of years, people just like reaching out like, hey, you do this, give me some help on this. I'm like, so that's something that I've kind of playing with the idea of kind of growing a little bit more. Just because, with the experience that you gain by just doing those things yourself. And then obviously with the work that I do. So just recently for continuing ed for work, I got a nutrition certification. Nice. So in endurance sport nutrition through United Endurance Sports Coaching Academy that I have gotten. And that was another thing that with this kind of health issue that I had been dealing with, like, I was reading a ton of stuff, but it wasn't stuff that I was enjoying reading. It was all like medical documents and articles on ITP. And like, stuff that I had just let it consume me. Like that was all I was doing, was like trying to fix this thing. And then, like I said, flip the switch of, it's not something to fix, it's part of you. So then got back to just reading things that I wanted to read again, taking classes again, like working on that continuing ed, things that I wanted to do. I got back to doing those things and I'm like, holy crap, like, why did you stop? Like, because you were told to stop by somebody who doesn't understand you.
Right.
So yeah, got back to doing that kind of stuff. And so yeah, it's something that I'm trying to figure out, like how I could, kind of grow that, because I definitely have developed a small but loyal following of people that, like recognize, like, hey, I want your help on doing this kind of stuff.
Dude, I ask you questions all the time. I'm like, he should be charging me for this. This is good information. I remember, I think it was before Bighorn last year, I asked you if you like do training plans or anything for anybody, and you just like sent me a free training plan. I was like, dude, I would have paid like a lot of money for this.
Yeah, that's something that for whatever reason, I'm not going to say money obviously matters, but it's not something like helping people to me is what matters. Like if there's something that I can help somebody with from my knowledge my experience that I've gained, like it just seems wrong to not share. Right. And my brother-in-law in particular and my sister, like they're kind of like, you're really good at doing this. Like you should do this more. And I'm like, yeah, you're probably right.
You've built up so much knowledge and experience and all this stuff, like just from doing it. And in my opinion, that's the best way. That's who I want to learn from. I don't want to learn from somebody who like took a course or got a certification, but they've never done the thing. Right. It's like, you can read all the books you want, but you don't know what it's like to actually be out there doing it. I want to learn from somebody like you who's got the experience, who's done it 12 times. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's something that, I might need to lean on you a little bit to,
I'm here to help,
to figure out, like that whole kind of marketing side of thing. Cause that's just, I've never been great at marketing myself. People kind of just have found me and they gravitate towards me, and I need to, lean into that a little bit more.
Yeah. What I found from coaching too, and you probably know this, but like the more you teach somebody and the more you coach other people, the more you tend to learn and the more you come to understand it, because you have to be able to explain it to somebody else.
Yep.
And through that, you learn new things. And like sometimes somebody will ask you a question like, oh, I never thought of that.
Yep.
So then you got to go research it and learn about it yourself. And I think I love the coaching and helping aspect. So I'd love to help you out.
Yeah.
You don't need help with the coaching, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, those shared experiences, like you said, like you just said, like just the way that people can frame things like, oh, that's a really good thing to think about, not just for you, but for me. But yeah, the knowledge that you can gain even just from helping other people is huge.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to help you out with some marketing stuff.
Yeah.
Get you out there. I mean, you're on the podcast right now. This is step one.
There you go. There you go.
What other events or things do you have planned? Do you have anything planned for the future?
So yeah, I mean, going into Bighorn, I knew that was going to be something that, and obviously it's something that's always been special for me. I've got a map of the course
I want one of those.
Across
That's
my
sick.
wall, but it's always been a special thing to me, a special event for me. And going into it this year, it was just even more unknown than I've ever had at Bighorn before. And I just went into it again, wanting to be in control of my body and not wanting to think about anything beyond being present at Bighorn, because it was going to be a big thing. So don't have any plans at the moment. I'll help my buddy Mike with his race up at Skunk Hollow.
Nice.
Do that one. Probably the 16. Just missed it last year because I was helping Nathan up at High Lonesome last year. Then obviously I'll have the night crawler coming up for me. Race directing that in the 7th year. And
if you're looking for a hard and fun ultra marathon and you want to come visit Wyoming, come do the night crawler. You're the race director. Yeah. And what is the date on that?
So yeah, this year the Nightcrawler is going to be on the 25th of August. So
And explain what that race is, because it's fun.
Yep. So it's up on Casper Mountain. So it's a 15-minute drive from Casper, Wyoming, on our kind of hidden gem of single track trails that we have up on Casper Mountain. We need more, but we make the most of what we have up there.
I love it up there.
And so yeah, it's a roughly 8-mile looped course that starts at 6:30 in the evening on the 25th of August and goes until 6:30 in the morning on the next day. So yep, you have 12 hours to complete as many of those 8-mile loops as you want. If you complete one, you get the same finisher award that the person who finishes maybe 6 or 7. Like, it is a great way for runners to go out, test new limits. That's where Jeremy ran his longest race to date.
That was my first race.
Yeah, his longest race to date. I think he did like over 40 miles or something.
Yeah, it was like 43 something.
Yeah, so just absolutely crushed it. Did a fun little video log of it that's on our website. But yeah, it's just a great way for people to kind of immerse themselves into that experience of running at night. You can do it as a solo person. You can do it as a 2 or 4 person relay. And this year we've added a 4-hour option, just for kind of the 4-hour option is more for kind of the locals, like, because that can be hard to be running a race on your local mountain and like knowing that your house is 15 minutes away and continue going out on 8-mile loops. So the 8-mile loops, they're run washing machine style. So these switch directions each loop. So it really, that really adds, I think, to the camaraderie of the event, because everybody gets to see everybody, from the race leader to the person that's just out there, grinding, like, well, everybody's grinding, but like to the person that's just out there, for a 12-hour hike. It's a great event. Like, you can set up your tent hammock right there in the start finish aid area and continue pushing those 12 hours, or take an extended break after a lap and then go back out. It's been a real fun event that has been just a fun way for me to give back to that ultra running community that has given so much to me. And yeah, we're in our 7th year already. It's nuts.
It's such a fun race. I would highly recommend it. What I just thought is while you were talking, that was like the perfect. You could probably make it like the 4.11 whatever around Eadsville, around on the same trails. Like, you should host or direct a backyard ultra up there. That'd be a ton of fun.
That would be. Yeah.
Have you thought about it?
That's actually something I have thought about. Something I thought about last year, before all this kind of health stuff happened, but definitely something that it would be easy to do on a loop like Eadsville. That's already roughly 4 miles anyways. Definitely something that I have considered. Because like I said, we don't have a ton of trail on Casper Mountain, but you can definitely make the most of it with an event like that, with an event like the Nightcrawler. And just kind of being the only kind of ultra looped relay event in central Wyoming. It's it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. If you did the backyard, I'd definitely try and come out here for that. I want to try and come out for the Nightcrawler too.
Yeah.
But dang. So okay, so after you direct Nightcrawler, what else do you have planned after that?
After Nightcrawler, then it'll be kind of just getting into the hunting season. So I'm a big hunter. Actually drew my first bull tag in Wyoming since I think it's been 11 or 12 years now.
Have you gotten an elk before?
I did. So yeah, I was 12 years ago. I got my first and only bull that I've gotten in Wyoming. I wasn't archery hunting at the time, but this year I've definitely gotten into archery hunting a lot over the last 5-6 years. So I'm really looking forward to hunting season this year, because it's not something that I was able to do last year. Archery season, like attaching sharp things to your back and being a bleeding risk and potentially having to cut up things, that's kind of frowned upon. Yeah. But so I missed archery season last year, so I'm stars aligned this year, and I was able to get pretty lucky on the Wyoming draw this year. And so it'll be hunting season after that.
Dude, that's gonna be epic.
Heck yeah.
It's like I love the idea of hunting, but I have never really gotten into it for whatever reason. But it's pretty hard to get a bull tag in Wyoming, right?
Yes, it is for residents, definitely. So my dad actually, so again, he'll be turning 70 this next year. He has had one bull tag his entire life. He's been here.
Wow.
And that was back in college. So yeah, when he and my uncles were going to the University of Wyoming. But he got a bull tag this year as well. I kind of just before the Wyoming draw this year, the application process, I was like, okay, Dad, how bad do you want to shoot a bull? And he's like, I want to shoot one pretty bad. I'm like, okay, well, here's an area right here where it's pretty much 100% draw. Like it's got an antler point restriction on it, but like if you want to shoot a bull, like this is the one to put in for, and he put in for it and he got it. So
nice.
So I'm honestly even a little bit more excited to be able to help him get that bull because yeah, he's, like I said, he'll be 70 this year and he's never shot a bull in Wyoming. So
damn, that'll be fun.
Pretty nuts.
I'm excited to see what you guys end up getting this year. That'll be cool.
So yeah, super excited for hunting season this year.
What about after that? You got any like races you're kind of thinking about for later this year or next year?
So again, going into Bighorn, didn't want to be thinking about anything but Bighorn. Right now, I'm kind of still just processing and kind of on cloud nine with how everything went with Bighorn, given everything we've gone through. There is a race in August, kind of backtracking a little bit from September, talking about hunting, that I'm kind of thinking about now a little bit. So it's in Wyoming. Yeah, it's called the Wyoming Range 100.
Is that a new race? I just heard of that recently.
Relatively new. So yeah, this will be the third year. So yeah, it's on the Wyoming Range. What's that trail they call? But yeah, it's starts in Big Piney, Wyoming, and finishes near Afton.
Okay, so is it through the Tetons at all, or
nope? So it's through the Wyoming Range. So in between the Tetons and the Winds sits the.
I should know this. I'm from Wyoming.
Sits the wonderful and mighty Wyoming Range. So yeah, that's haven't signed up for it yet, but it's something that's it's a mountain ultra, and those are kind of my jam.
Yeah. So, how does the course compare?
So it's that one's a point to point. So it's it's 102 miles. Yeah.
Those are cool.
Like I said, starts near Big Piney and finishes at Hoback. So yeah, that would be a big one. I haven't fully committed to it yet, but it's getting time where just how Bighorn went, like I feel like it's something I could do.
Yeah. Do you have any like big, like long-term things you want to try and do, whether it's running or life, whatever?
So yeah, long-term, definitely just want to continue pushing my limits, finding that best version of myself. Continuing to grow with this health issue as long as it's a part of me. Definitely, continue doing all those things that move me, helping other people. I love my job that I have right now. Wouldn't want to be doing anything else, honestly. Honestly, just adding some things, like we were just talking about, putting myself out there a little bit more, so I can continue helping more people, with running, definitely, from, like that running plan side of things. Like I help people, but I feel like I could help more people.
Yeah.
So figuring that out, I think, is going to be the next, kind of big thing. Obviously it's within running, but like from more of like a kind of like goal side of things, outside of physically doing those things myself. That's a goal that I have, that I want to spread those wings out a little bit more and see if I can grab even a few more people that that want that help.
That's one of the hardest things I think is putting yourself out there, because
Mm-hmm.
it's like the people that like yourself, who people want help from, like you're usually too modest or too humble to like put yourself out there and say, hey, I want to help people, I want, like, or I can help people, whatever. So that's a hard part, because like trying to convince someone like you to like talk about yourself, it's a hard thing to do, because like that's just not, you're just such a like a humble guy. But that's what makes you so great.
Yeah, well, and it, definitely just on that same thing, just like anytime anybody asks me to do something, like for instance, my brother John got into Boston, so like I'm already planning, like I'm going to be going to Boston next year to help crew for him. And I can't even tell you how many people I've had that like, do you have any urge to do Boston or anything like that? And I'm just like, I'm not going to say like 100% no, but like, because like just seeing those experiences of like you know, taking that left onto Boylston Street, and like the emotions and stuff that that can come from that. Being somebody who seeks experiences, like that could be a pretty darn fun experience, I think.
I'd recommend it.
It's just, I don't know, that whole idea of running fast on roads is just like completely different from anything that I've done recently. Maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that would be an okay thing for me to, kind of take a little detour towards.
Man, I'd love to see Justin ripping some fast marathon workouts. That'd be something else.
It would be something else.
It's so different. I love both of them for different reasons, but I've come to learn, I think, recently, I just probably over the last like week, honestly, that I love being in the mountains, love like running on the trails. It's so hard to beat, and it's fun going fast on the roads, but you just can't beat a beautiful trail run up in the mountains, being out there for several hours. Like it's there's nothing like it.
Yeah, no, yeah. Like I said, being somebody who seeks experiences, like being able to, you know, like, okay, I've had this experience of doing the mountain stuff, you know, like what would it be like to have thousands of people out there screaming for you, you know, like at a race like Boston, you know, like it's very similar in that, you know, like everybody's there to support something, a runner, support the event. Like, so from that side of things, it's very similar, but just a kind of different end of the spectrum of, you know, like thousands of people out there versus, you know, a race like Bighorn. There's a lot of people out there, but it's a very dedicated group of, you know, like hundreds of people, not literal thousands of people lining a marathon course. So yeah, that could be a fun experience.
Dang, that'd be cool. I would love to see that.
Could be a fun experience. So I don't know. I've haven't gone quite as far as, you know, like obviously signing up for a BQ qualifier yet, but it's moved from the back burner to kind of like, might not be a bad idea.
Nice. So, dude, I'm pumped to see what you end up doing.
Yeah.
That's the cool thing with all this stuff, is there's just so many things you can do and so many experiences and ways to challenge yourself.
There's so many good races that are popping up everywhere, good events popping up everywhere, so many opportunities of, you know, friends like doing cool things that you can go support, and family doing good things that you can go support. So yeah, that is definitely something that has not gone away, continues to grow, and like always up for an adventure, always up for kind of just flying by the seat of my pants and like just, let's go do something cool. Yeah.
I love that, man. Well, this was a ton of fun.
Heck yeah.
I really enjoyed this, dude. I'm glad we finally got to sit down. And in Casper, I'm glad we got to do it here in person. We talked about doing it remotely, but the remote ones aren't, you don't get that same like connection and the like flow of the conversation as you do in person. So I'm glad we got to do this.
Heck yeah.
Where is the best place for people to find you and connect with you?
Yep. So definitely you can find me on Instagram, ultraj_Kinner. Definitely have developed a following there. Not quite like you, good Lord. But
it's all relative.
It's all relative. But no, people honestly from all over the world that have watched the documentary. And yeah, people from like Japan, Germany, like, oh, okay. Typing me direct messages like, you're so inspiring. Like, okay.
That's so awesome.
No, it's very cool. So yeah, Ultra J _ Kinner on Instagram. I'm on Facebook, just my name, Justin Kinner. Strava, Justin Kinner. Don't do Twitter. Don't do any of that kind of stuff. But yeah.
Beautiful. Go check him out. Go find some inspiration. There's plenty of it with this guy. Dude, thanks again for coming on the podcast, sharing your story, sitting down and chatting.
Heck yeah.
You're so damn inspiring, man. I love this.
Thank you. You're quite inspiring yourself.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning into the show. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a review, and share it with a friend. We'll see you in the next one.